Good morning, Namaskar, Abhar, Abhinandan. I'm Sanjeev Sharma. I'm Assistant Director at HRDC JNU. It gives me an immense pleasure and matter of pride to host the inaugural session for 3 courses. Induction program 5th. The another one is professor course in sociology, and the third one is a professor course in political science, law, public administration. Respected guests, respected coordinators, and distinguished participants. As we know that the coronavirus pandemic has entirely changed the education environment around the globe. The situation is no different in India, and now many education institutions are opting to continue their normal classes online platform and conducting online courses, seminar and training program. This includes the use of online tools that allow teachers and students to meet virtually. Online has become the important mode of education during the lockdown period and after in the wake of COVID-19. And new solution for education could bring much needed innovation. It would be highly relevant for thinkers, academicians, and students to reflect on the profound implications of this crisis. And therefore, the Human Resource Development Center, JNU, New Delhi, as directed by the UGC, has decided to hold UGC sanctioned HRDC program through online mode. So last year, we have conducted all our courses under different component, that is a refresher course, faculty induction program, administrative workshops, and interdisciplinary courses. And last year, we have completed 2 short-term courses. In addition to these, we are also conducted seminar, webinar, and small workshop. I would happy to share with you that the faculty induction program, which is very mandatory to all the newly recruited teachers, so that the teacher can make aware about the administration setup, sensitize him or her about the classroom reality, and understand the bond between different stakeholders for realizing the professional aspirations and developing as agent of socio-economic changes and national development. These courses are very helpful to update the existing knowledge and skill enhancement for the faculty member, so they don't see themselves as the mere instructor, but as designer and mere member of learning development team with particular goal in their mind, and to encourage teacher to develop in-house education technology incubators. It helps to start up entrepreneurship get off the ground by providing them with research, mentorship, and connection, and linking them to capital and participate in seminars, symposium, workshop, etc. It is rightly said that a true teacher can never truly teach unless he is still learning. So this is also the one very important platform to share the experience, the knowledge also. So with this big background, we are very lucky. Today, we have with us our esteemed guest and speaker. First of all, I welcome you all connected virtually from different corner of the country. And I would happy to share with you that in today's 3 program, in faculty induction program, out of 40, all 40 participants are registered. In political science, law, and public administration, all 40 participants are registered. And in sociology, we have 33 participants. So today, we are happy that we have with us Professor Kuldeep Chand Agnihotri sir. We have with us Manya Shri Nand Kumar ji, and our director, Professor Brajesh Kumar Pandey. We have with us course coordinator with us. So we have with us respected Professor Ram Sagar Mishra, professor in School of Physical Sciences, the course coordinator for faculty induction program, Dr. Suchi Yadav from Center for Media Study, JNU. We have with us our respected Professor Vivek Kumar, chairperson, Center for Study of Social System. And we have with us Dr. Ashish Kumar, Center for Study of Social System Science, the course coordinator for Professor Course Sociology. We have also with us Professor Sanjay Kumar Bhardwaj, Center for South Asian Studies, Center for International Study, JNU. Dr. Bandana Mishra, Center for Comparative Politics and Political Theory. So in this the brief introduction, I would welcome मैं अपने निदेशक UGC HRDC प्रोफेसर ब्रजेश कुमार पांडे, जो संस्कृत सेंटर में प्रोफेसर हैं, मैं आपसे विनम्र विनती करता हूं कि आप अपना संबोधन सबके समक्ष रखें। ओवर टू यू प्रोफेसर पांडे सर। पांडे सर, आप ऑडिबल नहीं हैं।
हाँ, आवाज आ रही है?
जी सर, जी सर, जी वीडियो बंद हो गया है जी। ठीक है सर।
धन्यवाद। सबका अभिनंदन, सबको प्रणाम। आज के इस संयुक्त उद्घाटन सत्र में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत है, अभिनंदन है। इस वर्चुअल प्लेटफॉर्म पे ही हम एक दूसरे को सुनने, समझने, देखने और शायद महसूस करने का भी हमारा जो ये अभ्यास है वो अब तो बहुत पुराना हो गया है। लगभग 2 वर्ष होने आए हैं जब हम इसी माध्यम से एक दूसरे से जुड़ रहे हैं, तो इसलिए हम इसके अभ्यस्त भी हो गए हैं। कोरोना की कठिनाइयों के बीच में भी संवाद और शिक्षण प्रशिक्षण के लिए हमने नई विधियां तलाश की और अपनी राह सुगम करने के लिए हम निरंतर प्रयत्न करते रहे हैं। आज जिन 3 पाठ्यक्रमों का शुभारंभ हो रहा है, जैसा कि डॉक्टर संजीव ने बताया, समाज शास्त्र में पुनश्चर्या पाठ्यक्रम, राजनीति विज्ञान, विधि एवं लोक प्रशासन में पुनश्चर्या पाठ्यक्रम तथा फैकल्टी इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम, जिसे हिंदी में शिक्षण अभिप्रेरण कार्यक्रम कह सकते हैं। तो इस अवसर पर हमारे बीच में 2 सुविज्ञ विशिष्ट विद्वान उपस्थित हैं। मैं दोनों का HRDC परिवार की ओर से हार्दिक स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करता हूं। हिमाचल प्रदेश केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय के निवर्तमान कुलपति प्रोफेसर कुलदीप चंद अग्निहोत्री जी, उनको सुनना मुझे लगता है ज्ञान धारा के साथ बहने जैसा प्रतीत होता है। भारतीय साहित्य, संस्कृति, लोक एवं शास्त्र के यथार्थ एवं आदर्श और इसकी आपकी समझ हम सबको एक बहुत ही सम्यक दृष्टि देती है और हमने कई बार आपको सुना है। आप फिर आज हमारे बीच में हैं। हमारे मध्य में प्रज्ञा प्रवाह के राष्ट्रीय संयोजक आदरणीय श्री नंद कुमार जी उपस्थित हैं। आप भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा के प्रबल उद्घोषक हैं। उनके नेतृत्व एवं मार्गदर्शन में भारत बौद्ध का जो वैचारिक अभियान है उसको एक निर्णायक और स्पष्ट दिशा मिल रही है। बुद्धिजीवियों, शोधार्थियों एवं भारतीय अवदान के जो आग्रही समीक्षक हैं, विद्वान हैं, उन सबका एक बृहद समूह है। वो माननीय नंद कुमार जी के निर्देशन में शिक्षा जगत में जो व्याप्त विसंगतियां हैं उनके निराकरण के लिए अपनी प्रज्ञा का प्रयोग कर रहा है। और ये मैं मानता हूं कि जो प्रज्ञा का धवल प्रवाह है, जो दशकों से भारतीय शिक्षा में व्याप्त दुराग्रह है, तथ्यों के साथ छेड़छाड़ है और आरोपित वैचारिक आग्रह है, इन सब का जो कूड़ा करकट जमा हुआ है उसको किनारे लगाने का कार्य कर रहा है। तो मैं आपका स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करता हूं। हमारे तीनों पाठ्यक्रमों के जो समन्वयक हैं वो सभी अपने क्षेत्र के अधिकारी और विद्वान हैं। उनका कुशल समन्वयन, प्रतिभागियों के साथ, पार्टिसिपेंट्स के साथ उनका संवाद एवं जो उनकी योजना है वही पाठ्यक्रमों की जो सफल पूर्णता है उसका आधार बनेगी। प्रोफेसर विवेक कुमार जी सुपरिचित एवं चर्चित समाजशास्त्री हैं। लेखन एवं मीडिया में उनकी हमेशा व्यस्तता रहती है, उसके बाद भी उन्होंने हमारे जो ऊर्जावान युवा समाजशास्त्री हैं डॉक्टर आशीष कुमार, उनके साथ सहयोग करने के लिए अपनी प्रतिबद्धता व्यक्त की है। हम आभारी हैं। प्रोफेसर संजय भारद्वाज एवं डॉक्टर वंदना मिश्रा, उनका सहयोग भी हमारे लिए बहुत ही मूल्यवान है। डॉक्टर वंदना मिश्रा समर्पित भाव से अकादमिक कार्य करती रहती हैं। तो दूसरी ओर प्रोफेसर संजय भारद्वाज जी की जो मेधा है और विशिष्ट नियोजन शैली है जो पिछले पाठ्यक्रम में भी हमने देखी, तो उस पाठ्यक्रम को गुणवत्तापूर्ण, जो वैविध्यपूर्ण विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में कैसे उसको संयोजित किया जा सकता है, उनकी इस क्षेत्र में महारत हासिल है। मैं दोनों का अभिनंदन करता हूं। रसायनविद हैं हमारे प्रोफेसर राम सागर मिश्रा जी और मीडिया विशेषज्ञ प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सुची यादव, उनके निर्देशन में FIP की योजना की गई है। और मुझे लगता है कि दोनों का जो संयुक्त प्रयास है उससे ये FIP का पाठ्यक्रम प्रतिभागियों के लिए सर्वांगपूर्ण बनेगा और जो इसके विविध कंपोनेंट्स हैं, विविध विषय हैं, उनकी एक सामूहिक समझ निश्चित रूप से पैदा करेगा। और मैं तो मानता हूँ अच्छा विद्वान हमारे बीच में हैं, ये जैसे भारतीय षट दर्शन है उन्हीं तरह से ये षट पुरुष है। मैं इन सबका स्वागत करता हूँ, क्योंकि आज के बाद हमारा ये तीनों पाठ्यक्रम इन्हीं पर निर्भर है, इन्हीं को समर्पित है। और हमारे सहयोगी सहायक निदेशक जो आज संचालन कर रहे हैं HRDC के डॉक्टर संजीव शर्मा, उनका परिश्रम, कार्य योजना एवं दृष्टि, हमारी जो ये सारी योजना बनती है, सारे कार्यक्रम संचालित होते हैं, उसका आधार है। हमारे जो सहयोगी हैं गौरव, नेहा जी, ओम प्रकाश जी, इनके सहित सभी कार्मिक हमारी HRDC की जो टीम है उसके स्तंभ हैं, इसलिए सबके प्रति मैं कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करता हूं। और विशेष रूप से स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन है हमारे सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का, सभी प्रतिभागियों का, भारत के लगभग सभी राज्यों से आए हुए प्रतिभागी। JNU का जो एक व्यापक शैक्षणिक फलक है उसको एक अखिल भारतीय स्वरूप प्रदान करते हैं और भारत के अखिल भारतीय चरित्र के वे प्रतिनिधि रूप में हैं। हमारे कोर्सेज में भी अभी जैसे कि बताया डॉक्टर संजीव ने कि भारत का जो बहुरंगी वैविध्यपूर्ण चरित्र है वो विद्यमान है, लगभग हर राज्य का प्रतिनिधित्व है। हमारे प्रत्येक कोर्स में भारत के प्रत्येक राज्य से हम प्रयास करते हैं कि उसमें पार्टिसिपेंट शामिल हों। और इसके साथ ही जो हमारे HRDC के द्वारा संचालित कोर्सेज हैं उनकी गुणवत्ता, अनुशासन और जो सर्वोच्च शैक्षणिक मानदंड है उसको स्थापित करने का हम संकल्प लेकर के ये शुरुआत करते हैं। सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का सहयोग इसमें अनिवार्य रूप से अपेक्षित है। आप सबसे अपेक्षा है कि आप अनुशासन पूर्वक इन सारे कोर्सेज को संचालित करने में अपना सहयोग देंगे। हम सभी जो अध्यापक और शिक्षक हैं वो आप सभी जानते हैं समाज को दिशा देने वाले हैं, उसमें चेतना भरने का, उसको ज्ञान संपन्न बनाने का कार्य निरंतर करते रहते हैं। हम छात्रों को शिक्षित करते हैं, ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में घटित होने वाले जो नवीन शोध हैं, नवाचार हैं या घटनाएं हैं, उनके साथ अपने को अपडेट करते हैं, अद्यतन करते हैं। इसी के साथ जो हमारी अपनी व्यापक सामाजिक समझ है और जो सहभागिता है उसके माध्यम से भी हम न केवल छात्रों को बल्कि समाज को भी और उसके माध्यम से पूरे परिदृश्य को शिक्षित करने का, जागरूक करने का कार्य करते हैं। तो इसलिए अध्यापक के लिए आवश्यक हो जाता है कि वह न केवल अपने विषय में बल्कि जो अंतर्वैषयिक या इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी क्षेत्र है उसमें भी नवीन शोध की महत्ता को पहचाने और अपना योगदान सुनिश्चित करें। हम सभी कहीं ना कहीं इस दृष्टि से कार्य निरंतर कर रहे हैं। छात्रों से संवाद कौशल जो हमारा होता रहता है और जो भी हम संप्रेषित करते हैं अपने सहकर्मियों के साथ या अपने छात्रों के साथ, वो हमारे संवाद कौशल पर ही निर्भर करता है कि हम किस प्रकार से अपनी बात को उन तक पहुंचा पाते हैं। तो उसके माध्यम से शिक्षा को मानवीय गरिमा से परिपूर्ण बनाना भी मुझे लगता है कि आवश्यक है और हमारा दायित्व भी है। जो भारत की सर्वसमावेशी प्रकृति है और जो सर्वसमावेशी संस्कृति है उसके मूल्य हमें आगामी पीढ़ियों तक पहुंचाने हैं। तो यह आवश्यक है कि जो जानबूझ करके सामाजिक और मानसिक दरारों को, जिसे हम फॉल्ट लाइंस कहते हैं, उसको चौड़ा किया जाता रहा है, तो उसको भरने का प्रयास हो, ये हम सबकी दृष्टि होनी चाहिए, ये मेरा मानना है। हम अपने शिक्षण में जो समावेशी चरित्र है, जीवन मूल्य हैं, उनको शामिल करें और जो वैश्विक चेतना है उसके संस्कार में, उसके परिष्कार में भारत का बौद्धिक, सांस्कृतिक एवं आध्यात्मिक विमर्श किस प्रकार से परिवर्तन का वाहक बन सकता है, इस दिशा में हम कार्य करें। भारत किस और पूरे विश्व को दिशा दे सकता है, यह सब कुछ हम शिक्षकों के दृष्टि परिवर्तन और उसके क्रियान्वयन पर निर्भर करता है। विश्व में आप सभी जानते हैं इस समय त्वरित गति से, बड़ी तेजी से राजनीतिक और भू सांस्कृतिक परिवर्तन आकार ले रहे हैं। इससे मनुष्यता और उसके जो शांतिपूर्ण सामाजिक सरोकार हैं उनके प्रभावित होने की भी पूरी आशंका है। तो वो हमें ट्रेलर्स दिखाई देने लगे हैं, निरंतर वे परिवर्तन हमें परिलक्षित होते हैं, लेकिन हमें ये विचार करना है कि सह अस्तित्व के साथ मनुष्यता आगे बढ़ेगी या वर्चस्व, बर्बरता एवं असीमित स्वार्थ में कहीं खो जाएगी। इस पर राजनीति शास्त्रियों एवं समाज वैज्ञानिकों के साथ साथ हम सबको विचार करना होगा। कोरोना की जो आपदा है, इसने शारीरिक दूरियां तो पालन कराई हैं हमसे, वो एक तरह से अनिवार्यता बन गई है, किंतु सामाजिक संबंधों तथा मानवीय संबंधों की जो गरिमा है उसको भी पुनर्परिभाषित किया है। और समाजशास्त्रीय जो सैद्धांतिक विश्लेषण के साथ साथ यह आवश्यक है कि जो हमारे पारिवारिक मूल्य हैं उनको संरक्षित करने की दिशा में भी हम कुछ सोचें और पारिवारिक विघटन के कारकों पर भी विचार करें और परिवार और उसके आंतरिक संबंधों की जो भारतीय व्यवस्था है उसको सुदृढ़ करने में भी योगदान करें। तो आज हमारे ये सभी पाठ्यक्रम जो तीनों प्रारंभ हो रहे हैं, निश्चित रूप से हमारे लिए कुछ न कुछ ज्ञानवर्धन करने वाले होंगे। हम यहाँ से कुछ नया सीख करके जाएंगे और पूरी गुणवत्ता के साथ, पूरे अनुशासन के साथ हम इसमें शामिल रहेंगे। आप सबको इस हेतु पुनः बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आप सबका अभिनंदन, सबको प्रणाम।
धन्यवाद सर, आपका आभार और अभिनंदन। ऊर्जावान और आपका हमेशा से मार्गदर्शन जो है वो हम सबको मिलता रहता है, जिसके कारण हम सब ये कार्यक्रम करा पाते हैं। Now in continuation with the program, you know that no course can shape in the present form without the hard work or dedication of the course coordinator. They are tirelessly working from the last 2 months, and they have invited the highly experienced resource person throughout the globe. So in this series now, I would like to request Professor Ramsagar Mishra to say something about the course about faculty induction program. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Sharma, and thank you, Professor Bejas Pandey, for giving this opportunity to us, myself and Dr. Suchi Yadav, to conduct this Gur Dachita faculty induction program. And I would like to welcome Professor Kuldeep Chand Agnotri ji and Sri Jay Nand Kumar ji in this inaugural session. And for the detail of this program, how we are going to conduct and what are our speakers, I transfer this to Dr. Suchi Yadav to explain a bit in detail. So Dr. Suchi Yadav will explain it. Okay. Dr. Suchi Yadav, please.
Yeah, सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। नंद कुमार जी को, अग्निहोत्री जी को, ब्रजेश जी को और संजीव जी को, सारे colleagues को और all the participants, you are most welcome and we welcome you all, as has already been said. Talking about this program, this is a faculty induction program, as you all know, and it is called Guru Dakshta. Guru Dakshta means that, that all the faculty, as you're already as teachers, but then there are developments related to technology, related to research that are happening continuously in this growing scenario. So the program Guru Dakshta is designed to improve your efficiency, to increase professionalism. There are 3 parts to it, and there are nearly 10 modules. The program runs for say nearly about a month. And the modules are divided as far as the vision of the experts related to higher education is concerned. They will also give you overviews related to information communication technology and the use of it in teaching learning process. Above all, the program is designed in such a manner that it should have a learner-centric approach. When I say learner-centric approach, is that now we keep the learner at the center of everything, and the teachers also, not just the learner, teachers also have to orient themselves to be totally thinking as learners throughout life. Not just you, but it's a learning experience for all of us, so that the aspects of not only technology or technological changes, but academic integrity and values in academics, which I think higher education needs to reorient themselves over a period of time. And that's how the focus of this faculty induction program is really academic research, academic integrity in tune, keeping in tune with whatever technological approaches or technological innovations have been happening over the period of time and continue to be happening. So we would request all of you, we have lined up a lot of international and national speakers for this program. When we start today, you will be having orientation lectures from distinguished guests. Two of them have already joined, people of repute, and obviously the value for higher education and how it has to be executed, not just in your teaching learning process, but throughout life. That is the whole idea and agenda of it. Throughout the course, we also will help you and would insist to have an output-oriented approach, so that at the end of the day, we also feel that in the interaction with you, we have learned something, and you also go back home with something in your hand by way of outputs like assignments and other things. So with that, I would want to say that it's a program designed to orient all the faculty members with latest technological changes, and also to help you understand and address problems that you might be facing or already may be facing in your teaching learning practices, especially orienting you all towards innovative research and academic integrity and values that I'm insisting here upon. That's about it. For further, we will always be interacting throughout the months. So I think this is.
Thank you, Professor Mishra and Dr. Yadav, for presenting overview of the course. Now, I would like to humbly request Professor Vivek Kumar, Chairperson, Center for the Study of Social System. Sir, please present an overview of your course. Over to you, sir.
At the outset, let me thank Professor Brajesh Kumar Pandey for giving this leadership to HRDC. Sir, we are really thankful to you that you always invite Center for the Study of Social System, and thank you so much. आदरणीय नंद कुमार जी, प्रज्ञा प्रभा के सर्वे सर्वा और उसको दिशा देने वाले, इत्तेफाक से मेरी मुलाकात है उनसे। अग्निहोत्री जी, जिनको आपने अभी बताया कि किस प्रकार वो हमें मार्गदर्शन करेंगे, और हमारे भाई डॉक्टर संजीव शर्मा जी, and dear participant. This is the 41st refresher course in sociology, and on behalf of HRDC JNU and Center for the Study of Social System, School of Social Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, I welcome all the participants for the 41st refresher course. And it is really a historical moment for us because we at the Center of the Study of Social System are entering in the Golden Jubilee year. This is the 50th year of our inception. We were started our program in 1971. So all of you are witness to that historical development. And thank you, Professor Brajesh Pandey, for again inviting us to hold this program. Over the years, as you all know, the Center of the Study of Social System has performed well. And today, at the international level also, its standing is very well registered even by QS ranking, which ranks departments of the world. And our department was ranked 58th in the world, 8th in Asia, and of course, first in India in 2019 ranking. And still it stands actually. And in that actually, our center is at par with many of the world centers, and also way ahead to even SOAS and Edinburgh or other international centers. So in this, actually, I think we take proud of it that we are all going to be part of the Center of the Study of Social System. And as we say at JNU, once a JNUite, always a JNUite. You can only join JNU, you can never leave. So thank you for choosing this. As far as the course outline is concerned, we at the Center for the Study of the Social System, we follow multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approach over the years. And that's why I think we can see that a lot of emphasis and a lot of impact of science especially Newtonian physics model, or you can say statistical model, have been incorporated in the course outline. And that's why we have titled this course as Practice of Sociology, Emerging Theories and Methods. And that we will include in it. The second thing is that our courses in the Center for the Study of Social System have been guided by constitutional values as well. And we have always tried to incorporate those constitutional values of equality and social justice. And as Professor Brajesh Pandey ji was talking about, that we have to talk about family and its deconstruction, or its breaking of the families also, and values that we have to take into account. So we will, of course, look into the institutionality of the courses. Last but not the least, this intervention of perspectives, different perspectives, because we cannot be only local, we have to be global as well. And that's why we have incorporated international perspectives of positivism to phenomenology, to functionalism and structuralism and post-structuralism as the fashion goes. But we also have kept Indology as one of the very important component of our teachings in the center. And therefore, we have divided the course into three aspects. One is a theory or methodology or method, and second is theory, and third is, of course, the substantive nature of issues which we have to run. Because we are also an international center in the sense that we run a global studies program with 6 universities of the world, whether it is Freiburg University of Germany, Humboldt University of Germany, Cape Town University of South Africa, Flasco of Argentina, and Chulalongkorn of Thailand. And therefore, our orientation is how sociology has evolved over the years, not only from an international perspective, but South Asian perspective, keeping India at the center. And therefore, that will be reflected in our course. And also, friends, you see that we also are endowed with Ambedkar Chair in sociology, and this is the only chair in India which is housed in the Center for the Study of Social System, and it is Empowerment and Justice Ministries actually chair. So we have actually all the mandate how to incorporate Indian value system, and along with that, how to have South Asian and from there actually universal values. So we will like to have a overall perspective, 100 years of development of sociology, and we will be definitely dealing with how it has evolved over the years. But the population, whether it is scheduled caste population, tribal population, women population, and even Divyang, that has been covered in our lectures, and that will definitely be observed, as you will see. Not only that, how the further development has taken place, like media studies has come in very, very large vogue, and therefore we have to look into media studies as well, and then how Indian society is being converted to knowledge society. So I think overall, a very comprehensive picture of methodology, method, theory, and substantive areas will be covered throughout these 12 days, as you will see. And then we have called very, very knowledgeable resource persons from all over the India, and also somebody's in abroad as well. With these kind words, I welcome you all, and I think you will enjoy. And as our director was talking again and again, that we have to be very disciplined. And in JNU, we really think that we are all, as teachers, we have a number of actually, ideas to fulfill. Because a teacher is not only teaching. We at JNU think that a teacher is a researcher also. So how you will be a researcher, and that's where you will have to take some program and you will be evaluated. You teach and you supervise both. So how will you act in that manner? Not only that, a good teacher is also a good student. So now this will be a test that how you really listen to us and how you inculcate. Last thing, which I think at JNU, we teach that a teacher has to be transparent in using his reading material or his teaching material. It's not that you teach and you actually preach from some source and then you tell your students some different source. That is not going to happen. We teach what we preach, and we preach with references and reference material. That is our hallmark. And I think with these words, you will definitely enjoy our contribution as the development of the teachers, because it is a refresher course. You get refreshed. And I really can vow that you will go refreshed as you will go from here. Thank you so much, Sir Brajesh, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, and our deep sense of gratitude to you. And I believe that all distinguished participants will highly get benefited under your leadership, because you are also the authority in your subject expertise. So it like all the participants are also lucky that under your leadership they will continue the course. Thank you very much again. And now I would like to invite, before that I would like to say that HRDC JNU is also the National Resource Center, and Professor Sanjay Kumar Bhardwaj sir is also coordinator for the ARPIT program, and he has also conducted last year this same course. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation, and I would humbly request you to kindly present the overview of your course, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, and also Dr. Brajesh Kumar Pandey for giving this opportunity. Honorable Kuldeep Chand Agnihotri ji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor of Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Maniye Sri Nand Kumar ji, National Convener, Prajna Prabha, New Delhi, HRDC Director, Dr. Brajesh Kumar Pandey, Assistant Director, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, my co-coordinator of the course, Dr. Vandana Mishra, Professor Vivek Kumar, Professor Ram Sagar Mishra ji. Dear participants, good noon and welcome you all for the 48th refresher course in political science, law and public administration. The aim of this refresher course is to rejuvenate the knowledge of the faculty with selected core concepts, debates, and emerging trends in 3 interconnected disciplines: political science, law, and public administration. By adopting an interdisciplinary perspective, we have structured the course outline in a way to develop a holistic understanding of the society, state, and governance by reflecting on socio-political and legal ideas. As methodological issues are important in teaching and research, the participants will be encouraged to develop and hone their research skills. The main endeavor will not be limited to equipping participants with the latest information and contemporary knowledge, but also to stimulate them to think critically and contribute meaningfully to the debate in academic discipline as well as in the larger socio-political milieu. Thus, the lectures are designed in a way that they would encompass the primary institutions such as diplomacy, sovereignty, political management, nationalism, law and governance, and derivative primary institutions such as global commons, multilateralism, politico-economic nationalism, and the market-driven society. Apart of this, all the conventional steps that we generally study at the colleges and universities, like political thought, political theory, comparative politics, Indian government and politics, and international relations will be part of this course. We will also have recent developments in new normal, fresh debates, fresh issues, that students, teachers, and scholars all over the world are looking at. For example, the crisis of neoliberal theories in the post-COVID-19 society, problem of terrorism, fundamentalism, the ongoing debate about foreign policy and national security issues, politics and policies regarding social justice, gender, diaspora, media, environment, health governance, global governance, and policies and debates making the knowledge superpower will be part of this course. We have designed this course keeping this thematical approach into mind, and we have invited resource persons accordingly. Apart from these, the course has also focused on research methodology, open educational resources, research ethics, etc. So we think, or it's our belief or our conviction, the course will help you to fulfill your career objectives and rise higher to achieve your professional goals. We have also believed, and our conviction, that it will also enhance and expand your knowledge on new developments in the discipline of political science, public administration, and law, particularly the perspective of global South. That's very important, very significant, that India had been a knowledge society. So how you can understand what it has been constructed by the global West, how the global South is looking at those issues which are significant for today's world, like new issues and debates in social sciences that happening all over the world and connecting with the rest of the world would be part of the debate and discussions and deliberations in this course. I'm pleased to say that good number of speakers are eminent persons from UK, USA, Japan, Australia, South Africa, South Asia, and of course from India, and from different eminent institutions like London School of Economics, like National University of Singapore, or you can say Australian National University. Professors would be participating, that they are delivering their lectures on this. I had a good experience, and thank you, Dr. Brajesh Kumar Pandey, who had given this opportunity this time again. Last time we have organized it, and out of 32 lectures, around 17 lectures were delivered by foreign faculties, and that was well appreciated, well welcomed by the participants. So I thought that we should take the advantage of this circumstances, or you can say this pandemic, that we are conducting the course online and we are getting opportunity to invite the people. We will be very honored to listen Manye Nand Kumar ji and Professor Agnihotri. So I will not come in between us, and we are eagerly looking for their deliberation. I welcome you again and thank you for joining this course. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, and our heartfelt gratitude to you for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much, sir. So अब हमारे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है कि जिनका हमें काफी लंबे समय से इंतजार था, हमारा मार्गदर्शन के लिए माननीय प्रोफेसर कुलदीप चंद अग्निहोत्री जी हम सब के बीच में हैं। उनका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिलेगा। प्रोफेसर कुलदीप चंद अग्निहोत्री जी किसी परिचय के मोहताज नहीं हैं। आप सभी उनके विभिन्न प्रकार के राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर के योगदान के बारे में परिचित हैं। आप इससे पहले सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हिमाचल प्रदेश में कुलपति के पद पर थे और वर्तमान में आप बोर्ड ऑफ ट्रस्टी इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल सेंटर फॉर आर्ट्स में बोर्ड ऑफ ट्रस्टी मेंबर हैं। प्रोफेसर कुलदीप चंद अग्निहोत्री जी इससे पहले विभिन्न इंस्टीट्यूशंस को हेड कर चुके हैं और मोर देन 40 वर्षों का उनका अध्यापन का अनुभव है। ही हैज मोर देन 20 बुक्स इन हिज क्रेडिट, और कुछ जिनमें मैं नाम लूंगा, एक और जलियांवाला और ईरानी क्रांति और उसके बाद एक बहुत ही मशहूर है जो हम सबके बीच में, आपका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिलेगा। ओवर टू यू सर। मैं आपसे विनम्र निवेदन करता हूं कि आप हम सबका मार्गदर्शन करें।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद संजीव जी।
नमस्ते।
मैं भाई सभी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि उद्घाटन सत्र के लिए मुझे निमंत्रित किया गया है। हमारे बीच में आदरणीय नंद कुमार जी उपस्थित हैं और विस्तार से भी चर्चा करेंगे। मैंने तो ब्रजेश पांडे जी को कहा था कि डॉक्टर ने मुझे कम बोलने के लिए कहा है, इसलिए आप मुझे केवल 15-20 मिनट दीजिए। तो शायद मैं ना भी कहता तब भी 15-20 मिनट ही देते। तो मैं संक्षेप में अपनी बात समाप्त करूंगा। पहले तो ब्रजेश पांडे जी का और भाई संजीव शर्मा जी जो अभी आपके सामने ही हैं, इन दोनों का बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप लोगों ने मुझे निमंत्रित किया। और इस कार्यक्रम में जो आयोजन कर रहे हैं, राम सागर मिश्रा जी हैं, शुचि यादव जी हैं, डॉक्टर विवेक कुमार जी हैं, आशीष कुमार जी हैं और संजय कुमार भारद्वाज जी और वंदना मिश्रा जी हैं। सभी अपने अपने विषय के प्रकांड पंडित हैं और दूसरे जो इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, मैं मानकर चलता हूं कि वो भी अपने विषय के विशेषज्ञ हैं। एक बात शेयर करना चाहूंगा, मुझे जब फोन आया पांडे जी का तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो 3 कार्यक्रम है उनमें एक कार्यक्रम गुरु दक्षता का कार्यक्रम है। तो इंडक्शन कार्यक्रम जिसको अंग्रेजी में पहले कहते थे, आपकी शायद अंग्रेजी में तो इंडक्शन कहते होंगे, लेकिन सरकार ने कहा है कि इसका नाम गुरु दक्षता कार्यक्रम किया जाए। तो मैं सोच रहा था कि भाई ये नाम परिवर्तन का कारण क्या है, क्योंकि टीचर है, शिक्षक है, अध्यापक है, उसका अर्थ और है, गुरु का अर्थ बिल्कुल और है। या कम से कम ये कह सकते हैं कि गुरु का अर्थ बहुत व्यापक है, उसमें टीचर, शिक्षक, अध्यापक सब समा जाते हैं। तो ये गुरु से जब अंग्रेज आए, या अंग्रेजों से आने से पहले मैं कह सकता हूँ, जब हिंदुस्तान पर विदेशियों के हमले शुरू हुए तो हमारे देश में जो गुरु का पद था एक प्रकार से, उसका अवमूल्यन शुरू हो गया और अंग्रेजों तक आते आते गुरु का पतन हो, अवमूल्यन कहना ज्यादा अच्छा होगा, पतन शायद थोड़ा नेगेटिव हो जाएगा। गुरु का अवमूल्यन होते होते वो शिक्षक तक, अध्यापक तक, टीचर तक पहुंच गया। अब शायद सरकार या समाज को लगा है कि ये जो यात्रा पहले पतन की यात्रा शुरू हुई थी 1000 साल पहले, अब प्रयास करके उस यात्रा को फिर एक प्रकार से जिसको कहना चाहिए कि उसी स्थान पर वापस पहुंचने की यात्रा शुरू की जाए, इसलिए इसका नाम शायद गुरु दक्षता कार्यक्रम रखा है। मुझे लगता है प्रिय मित्रों, हम सब अध्यापक हैं और ये जो नई यात्रा हमारे हिस्से आई है, इसके लिए बहुत परिश्रम करने की जरूरत है। वैसे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स तो, क्योंकि गुरु शब्द की बहुत बड़ी विरासत है, इसलिए हमारे स्टूडेंट अभी भी शिक्षक में या टीचर में गुरु की कहीं ना कहीं परछाई ढूंढते रहते हैं। यूनिवर्सिटियों में या कॉलेज में कई स्टूडेंट टीचर को गुरु भी कहते हैं। मैं कई बार हैरान भी होता हूँ कि कर्मचारी को गुरु क्यों कहते हैं, क्योंकि गुरु की विरासत बहुत पुरानी है। आज भी स्टूडेंट जो उनके माता पिता या समाज के लोग उस विरासत के कारण हम में वो खूबियां ढूंढते हैं। अब सरकार ने भी निर्णय किया है कि हमें वो यात्रा करनी है, तो मैं समझता हूँ ये हमारे समाज पर बहुत बड़ा दायित्व आया है। सरकार का भी निर्णय है, मुझे लगता है समाज भी कहीं ना कहीं ये प्रयास कर रहा है कि हमारी गुरु की यात्रा दोबारा शुरू हो। तो मुझे लगता है यदि हमारी गुरु की यात्रा नीचे आते आते तो 1000 साल लगे, लेकिन मुझे नहीं लगता कि ऊपर चढ़ते चढ़ते 1000 साल लगेंगे। तो यदि हम जल्दी इस यात्रा को पूरा कर लेंगे तो शायद हमारे शिक्षण संस्थानों में बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन होगा। दूसरी एक बात मैं जो, क्योंकि अब सब समाजशास्त्री भाई यहाँ एकत्रित हुए हैं, डॉक्टर विवेक कुमार जी तो समाजशास्त्र के जाने माने पंडित हैं और अपने विषय के विशेषज्ञ हैं, दूसरे जितने समाजशास्त्री हैं वो भी जाने माने हैं। मुझे लगता है कि समाजशास्त्र को समझने के लिए हमें टर्मिनोलॉजी का बहुत ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा। हमारे इतिहास में, पॉलिटिकल साइंस में, लॉ में, सोशल साइंसेज में, सोशियोलॉजी में, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में, उसको समझने के लिए जिस टर्मिनोलॉजी का हम प्रयोग करते हैं, क्या वो टर्मिनोलॉजी भारतीय संदर्भों में ठीक अर्थ प्रेषित कर पाती है या नहीं कर पाती। एक छोटा सा उदाहरण दूंगा। एक शब्द इंडिजिनस पीपल आता है। मैं कोशिश कई बार हम हिंदुस्तान में भी ऐसा प्रयोग करते हैं कि भारत के इंडिजिनस पीपल, खास करके नॉर्थ ईस्ट के बारे में तो बार बार ही प्रयोग करते हैं, इंडिजिनस पीपल ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्ट। मैं कई बार सोचता था कि इंडिजिनस पीपल का क्या अर्थ हुआ। पहले तो मुझे यही समझता रहा कि इंडिया के लोगों को इंडिजिनस कहते होंगे, लेकिन फिर विद्वानों से चर्चा हुई और डिक्शनरी का भी सहारा लिया, इधर उधर से और नॉलेज इकट्ठी की, तो उन्होंने कहा इंडिजिनस का अर्थ है जो मूल रहने वाले लोग हैं। अब अंग्रेज हिंदुस्तान में आए, वो हिंदुस्तान के लोगों को इंडिजिनस पीपल कहें, ये बात समझ आती है, क्योंकि वो बाहर से आए थे, पुर्तगाली बाहर से आए, अंग्रेज बाहर से आए, फ्रांस वाले भी आए। उन्होंने कहा कि जो जहाँ लोग रहते हैं दे आर इंडिजिनस पीपल, तो बात समझ में आती है। आज हम हिंदुस्तान में रहकर ही कुछ पॉपुलेशन को इंडिजिनस कह रहे हैं। इसका ये अर्थ हुआ कि कुछ लोग मूल पहले हैं, बाकी लोग बाहर के आए हुए हैं। ये थ्योरी जब अंग्रेजों ने प्रचारित की, तो अभी डॉक्टर विवेक कुमार जी बता रहे थे कि सोशल साइंसेज में, सोशियोलॉजी में बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर की भी चेयर यूनिवर्सिटी में स्थापित है। तो ये थ्योरी जब अंग्रेजों ने स्थापित की, तो बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर पहले आदमी थे जिन्होंने इस बात का खंडन किया कि मूल और बाहर के ये अवधारणा ही विदेशी धारणा है और बिल्कुल जिसको कहना चाहिए अनसाइंटिफिक कंसेप्शन है और इमेजिनरी कंसेप्शन है। लेकिन देखिए, मुझे लगता है आज इतने सालों बाद भी जब हम अंबेडकर को भी एक प्रकार से कहना चाहिए आइकन स्थापित कर रहे हैं, तो अंबेडकर ने जो रिसर्च करके, जो खोज करके जो तथ्य निकाले, उसको हम क्यों नकार कर रहे हैं। दूसरी बात एक और, मैं क्योंकि आप सभी समाजशास्त्र के लोग हैं भाई, आप लोगों के ध्यान में लाना चाहूंगा, अंग्रेजों ने भारतीय समाज को समझने के लिए जिस दृष्टि का प्रयोग किया, देखिए दृष्टि बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होती है। किसी चीज को समझने के लिए मेरी दृष्टि क्या है, मेरी मानसिकता क्या है। मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण दूंगा। मान लीजिए कोई व्यक्ति हिमाचल प्रदेश में आता है, हिमाचल प्रदेश में जंगल हैं, घने जंगल हैं, पहाड़ हैं। यदि उसकी दृष्टि प्रकृति विरोधी है तो वो क्या लिखेगा, बहुत बुरी स्थिति है हिमाचल प्रदेश में, तो वहां तो बहुत ऊंचे ऊंचे पहाड़ हैं, नदियां हैं, खड्ड है, पानी बहता है, वहां तो रहना बहुत मुश्किल है, इतना जंगल है, तो वहां साफ करके उसको समतल क्यों नहीं किया जाता और वहां जंगल को काटा क्यों नहीं जाता। इसका अर्थ ये है कि आपकी दृष्टि प्रकृति के साथ सामंजस्य बिठाने वाली नहीं है, प्रकृति विरोधी है। दूसरा व्यक्ति आता है, उसकी दृष्टि प्रकृति के साथ तारतम्य बिठाने की है, वो आकर क्या कहेगा, हिमाचल प्रदेश तो स्वर्ग है, इतना अच्छा प्रकृति का वातावरण है और पहाड़ों पर बर्फ पड़ती है। विदेशी लोगों ने हिंदुस्तान को जो देखा, उन्होंने अपनी दृष्टि से देखा। आज हम उसी विदेशी दृष्टि से क्या हिंदुस्तान को देखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। हमारे समाज शास्त्रियों में ज्यादातर जो देखने की प्रवृत्ति है, वो उसी विदेशी दृष्टि से देखने की प्रवृत्ति है। मित्रों, जब हम भारत बोध की बात करते हैं, कई मेरे मित्र पूछते हैं कि अग्निहोत्री भारत बोध आप बार बार क्या चिल्लाते रहते हो, भारत बोध भारत बोध, तो भारत तो यही है, उसका इतिहास भी यही है, उसका सब कुछ यही है, तो उसमें नई बोध की क्या बात है। मैंने कहा भाई, भारत को देखने की एक दृष्टि पाश्चात्य दृष्टि है, एक दृष्टि हमारी अपनी दृष्टि है। हम अपने समाज को अपनी दृष्टि से जानेंगे या बाहर की दृष्टि से जानेंगे। दुर्भाग्य से बाहर वालों ने जो भारतीय समाज को समझने का प्रयास किया, उसी सिद्धांतों को, उसी आधार को आधार बनाकर हम आज भारतीय समाज को समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। हम उसी से भारतीय समाज को परिभाषित कर रहे हैं। इतने सालों बाद मुझे लगता है अब हमने प्रारंभ किया है कि भारत को भारतीय दृष्टि से ही देखना होगा, यही भारत बोध है। तीसरी बात एक मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा, हिंदुस्तान के इतिहास को जानने के लिए अंग्रेजों ने जो टर्मिनोलॉजी प्रयुक्त की, मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण दूंगा क्योंकि समय बहुत नहीं है। उसी में 1857 में जो गदर हुआ, जो आजादी की पहली लड़ाई थी, उसमें अंग्रेजों ने कहा साहब गदर था, वो तो थोड़ा रेवोल्यूशन था, जब विद्रोह कर दिया हमने, दबा दिया उसको, आर्मी में थोड़ा विद्रोह हुआ, हमने दबा दिया। जो आजादी की पहली लड़ाई थी, अंग्रेजों ने जब उसकी हिस्ट्री लिखी तो उन्होंने क्या लिखा, पंजाब के सिखों ने 1857 की क्रांति में अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया। और आज भी मोटे तौर पर हम यही पढ़ा रहे हैं कि 1857 की क्रांति में, प्रथम स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में पंजाब के सिखों ने अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया। लेकिन उसका एविडेंस क्या था, उन्होंने कहा देखिए जो पंजाब की रियासतें थी, पटियाला रियासत थी, नाभा रियासत थी, जींद रियासत थी, और भी रियासतें थी, इन्होंने अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया। तो भाई ग्वालियर रियासत ने भी अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया था। आपने ये क्यों नहीं लिखा कि 1857 की आजादी की लड़ाई में हिंदुओं ने अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया? रियासत, एक रियासत साथ देती है तो आप उसको कहते हैं ग्वालियर रियासत ने साथ दिया। दूसरी रियासत साथ देती है तो आप ये नहीं लिखते कि पटियाला रियासत ने साथ दिया, आप लिखते कि सिखों ने उसका साथ दिया अंग्रेजों का। तो एक गलत टर्मिनोलॉजी से पूरा नैरेटिव डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाता है। लेकिन आज हमारा जो समाज शास्त्र, मैं इसीलिए बार बार अपने मित्रों को कहता रहता हूं कि समाज शास्त्र में टर्मिनोलॉजी का बहुत ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है। और एक, क्योंकि हमारे लॉ के बहुत से मित्र भी यहाँ उपस्थित हैं और एक तो डिपार्टमेंट ही शायद लॉ डिपार्टमेंट, पॉलिटिकल साइंस डिपार्टमेंट भी इसमें उपस्थित है। मैं देख रहा हूँ कि आज से 25-30 साल पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो जजमेंट आती थी उसमें भारतीय ज्यूरिस्प्रूडेंस को बहुत कोट किया जाता था, जिसको हिंदू ज्यूरिस्प्रूडेंस भी कह सकते हैं, भारतीय ज्यूरिस्प्रूडेंस भी कह सकते हैं, उसको बार बार कोट किया जाता था। लेकिन आज की जजमेंट देखें धीरे धीरे तो उसमें वो आउट होता जा रहा है। आखिर हमारे जो, चाहे लॉ है, चाहे पॉलिटिकल साइंस है, चाहे सोशियोलॉजी है, चाहे हिस्ट्री है, उसमें हमारी जो विरासत है उसको हम जोड़कर साथ क्यों नहीं चलते? क्योंकि कंटिन्यूटी में उसको समझने के लिए विरासत को साथ लेना पड़ेगा। और प्रिय मित्रों, मैं समझता हूं हम सभी जहां जो मित्र एकत्रित हुए हैं कुछ रिफ्रेश होंगे और इंडक्शन है, गुरु दक्षता की यात्रा शुरू करेंगे। ये कुछ मूल बातें जो मेरे दिमाग में आ रही थी मैंने आपके साथ शेयर की है। मुझे लगता है नॉर्थ ईस्ट के मित्र भी कुछ जुड़े हो गए, जहां लाजमी नॉर्थ ईस्ट का इतिहास जो है वो हमारे समग्र इतिहास में क्यों नहीं पढ़ाया जाता। मैं हिस्ट्री के सिलेबस देखता हूँ मोटे तौर पर, तो उसमें नॉर्थ इंडिया का हिस्ट्री होती है और बहुत थोड़ा टच किए तो साउथ इंडिया का, नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया की हिस्ट्री क्यों नहीं टच की जाती? उसका कारण है हमारा दृष्टिकोण एकांगी है, हमारा दृष्टिकोण इंटीग्रल होना चाहिए। मणिपुर में जादू नांग हुए, बहुत कम मित्रों ने नाम सुना होगा। जिन दिनों भगत सिंह को पंजाब में फांसी दी जा रही थी उसके चंद दिन आगे पीछे जादू नांग को मणिपुर में फांसी दी जा रही थी। और जब भगत सिंह की उम्र और जादू नांग की उम्र लगभग एक जैसी थी, साल 6 महीने का अंतर होगा, काम भी दोनों का एक ही था। भगत सिंह ने अंग्रेजी साम्राज्य के खिलाफ मोर्चा खोला हुआ था, जादू नांग ने अंग्रेजी साम्राज्य के खिलाफ मणिपुर में मोर्चा खोला हुआ था। भगत सिंह को फांसी जो दी गई वो तो जेल के अंदर दी गई, जादू नांग को जो फांसी दी गई वो इम्फाल में पब्लिक प्लेस में उसको लटका कर फांसी दी गई। लेकिन जादू नांग का इंडियन हिस्ट्री में कौन जानता है? नॉर्थ ईस्ट के भगत सिंह हैं जादू नांग, अभी चंद दिन पहले उनकी पुण्यतिथि थी, लेकिन कितने लोगों ने जादू नांग को याद किया? मैं कहता हूं नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों ने भी कितना याद किया। इसलिए प्रिय मित्रों, हमें भारतीय समाज शास्त्र, भारतीय इतिहास, भारतीय राजनीति विज्ञान, भारतीय विधि परंपरा, इन सभी को समझने के लिए हमें अपनी विरासत से जुड़ना पड़ेगा। और मैं समझता हूँ ये एक अच्छी शुरुआत हुई है, कुछ सीमा तक इसकी शुरुआत हुई है। और जवाहरलाल नेहरू विश्वविद्यालय में मैं देख रहा हूँ अब ये नव जागरण के स्वर दिखाई दे रहे हैं, और विवेकानंद की मूर्ति का जवाहरलाल नेहरू विश्वविद्यालय के अंदर आ जाना, मैं समझता हूँ गुरु की यात्रा को आगे बढ़ाने का एक सार्थक प्रयास है। आप मित्रों ने मुझे आमंत्रित किया उद्घाटन सत्र के लिए, मैं आपका बहुत आभारी हूँ और इस अवसर प्रदान करने के लिए एक बार फिर आपका धन्यवाद करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत आभार गुरुजी, आपका अभिनंदन, आपका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिला और मुझे विश्वास है कि हम सभी आपके मार्गदर्शन से लाभान्वित हुए होंगे। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपने हमारे लिए समय निकाला। Now in continuation with this, now I take the opportunity and honor to invite Honorable Shri Nandakumar ji. He is presently national convener for ACAPRA, which is an umbrella body of Indian nationalist think tank. He has pursued automobile engineering in 1984 and thereafter he dedicated himself for the social work. Being an eminent nationalist thinker, he is a great orator, prolific writer, and a famous Malayalam poet. He had been the chief editor of Kesari Weekly, one of the most reputed Malayalam weekly for more than half decade. Respected Sri Nandakumar ji has written many books. Out of them, I would like to highlight some of the famous one are the Veer Savarkar, Bala Sahab Ek Samaj Sudharak, Bhaurab Devraj, Vijay Path, and the recent one is the Hindutva for Changing Time and Swaraj at the rate of 75, Bharat Struggle for Selfhood. We are very lucky by your presence, sir, and now I would humbly invite you to address the participant. Over to you, Mani Anand Kumar ji. Namaskar.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर संजीव शर्मा जी। परम आदरणीय प्रोफेसर कुलदीप चंद अग्निहोत्री जी, इस पूरे प्रोग्राम के निदेशक प्रोफेसर ब्रजेश कुमार पांडे जी, प्रोफेसर विवेक कुमार जी, जो मैंने 3-4 साल के पहले दिल्ली जब आए थे उस समय से ही मेरा परिचय भी है, घर पे जाने का भी मौका मिला था। सर नमस्कार। प्रोफेसर संजय भारद्वाज जी, वो भी बहुत मेरा निकट, ऐसा वेरी क्लोज टू माय हार्ट। प्रोफेसर राम सागर मिश्रा जी, प्रोफेसर वंदना मिश्रा जी, डॉक्टर आशीष जी, and Dr. Suchi Yadav ji, and all intellectuals, academicians who are very much eager to learn something from here. I don't think that you are here to hear some speeches, but it is this Guru Dakshta, or as far as English is concerned, faculty induction program. Actually, it is meant to promote academic excellence. Already it has been mentioned, it's not need to me to repeat it. Teaching innovation, research capabilities and leadership skills. And I think the most important thing which must be a part of this great induction program or Guru Dakshta program, as Kuldeep ji has already mentioned, I also prefer that name which has been newly introduced, that is our own term, Guru Dakshta. एक प्रकार से, in a way, how a teacher or a lecturer or even a professor can become a guru. That's the main challenge before us all. That's a great challenge. How we can become a needs to be very much analyzed here. And also the most important part is how to synergize. Yes, we are getting so many of the new knowledge, new development, as it has been very much specifically said by Ram Saran ji or Suchi Yadav ji or Sanjay Bharadwaj ji and also Vivek Kumar ji, that the new development in our respective faculties, social science in political science or public administration or law, what all are the new development, we are going to learn it. And of course, on the very basis of our Bharatiya Jnana Parambara, also we are analyzing all these things. But as far as education is concerned, the real Jnanarjan is concerned. In our concept means our Bharatiya concept. There is a well discussed, oft quoted one sloka, that is Acharyat Padamadatte Padam Shishya Swamedhaya Padam Sabrahmajaribhya Padam Kalakramenacha. So those who are created this module, they are only doing, don't be angry with me, the great creators of this module are only doing 1/4 of our total education. So those acharyas which made our syllabus, they are doing 25%. The 25% are to be achieved through our own swadhyaya, our own self study. Of course, you are all aware about all this fact. And the third one, that is my synergy point, that is to interact with our co-students, sub-brahmacharis, and we have to develop that 25%. And firbi only 75% we are able to acquire. The rest of the 25% in the due course we will imbibe. So these 2 points, discussing and interacting with our co-students or co-participants, and also we have to be very much careful about the the fourth factor, that is a due course. Due course means we must have a proper base, strong fundamentals. On that only, in the proper way, we can achieve the rest of the 25% of the matter. Here I am, I feel I was very much privileged to be invited here to discuss you with a special thing which is very much relevant to this current period, in the present period. Relevant in the sense, we are all aware of the fact when we are completing this particular course, in the same time, the whole Bharat, all the Bharatiyas are very much eager and very much planning to celebrate our 75th year of Bharat's independence. 75th of year of Bharat independence is a significant moment in our Bharat's national history. Why I'm saying is, this is an apt occasion for us to think about what Kuldeep ji has taught us now in his short speech. He has very clearly mentioned that we have to approach each and every subject on the very basis of Bharatiya Jnana Parambara. Okay, there is no doubt, there is no suspicion that we have to imbibe the knowledge system which has been created by the Westerners or Easterners or every part of the world. Anobhadra kratavo yendu vishwataha. We will not block it. We can accept, we can imbibe, we can teach in those words, those ways also. But that shall not be at the cost of our Bharatiya basis. See, the great Kothari ji who was the Education Commission, who thought about the education system of Bharat right from the beginning of their independence days. And also he thought about the education, what must be our education system, educational content, aim, direction, everything has been finalized by Kothari, and Kothari Commission is very much famous. Always when he was facing or interacting with academicians or the so-called intellectuals, in which we people all are members in that intellectual club, Kothari ji used to say, the main problem which the academicians and the intellectuals of Bharat now facing is their center of gravity is in the West. That's the problem. Center of gravity of our academicians are very much tilted towards the Europe. What all new development are going on there in Europe is very much we are discussing. But what all our base, our intellectual base, can we approach the new development in our own way or not? So that is why Kothari ji used to give a panacea for this problem, that only one way is to solve all the educational problem. Our academicians, our intellectual center of gravity has to be taken from West to Bharat. It must be made Bharat-centric. Maybe because of that, fortunately, the national education policy just now announced, just now introduced, is beginning with this particular point that we need a Bharat-centric approach. Take it from me, not even India-centric. The terms are very much important. But Kuldeep ji has said, it is very correct. Terms are very much important. Not even Indic-centric. Let me say, it must be Bharat-centric. What is the difference between Bharat and this new Western concept? The very word, very term of Bharat, that denotes a great, wisdom, or giving us a great knowledge. We used to give names to place, persons, or cheese, or anything, with knowing the real meaning of that, or knowing the real potential of that place or substance. Without knowing that, our people, our forefathers never give any name to any subject. So how we got the name Bharat for our nation? Because we are the persons, or we are the society who are always following or pursuing the knowledge path. Bha means knowledge, Rat means pursuing or experiencing the happiness or bliss out of knowing something or teaching something. So Bharat means Bha, Prakash or knowledge, Rat means pursuing or experiencing. So in that way, Bharat is the as a knowledge society in the real sense of the word. The society here lived before us were very much was a search of knowledge and very much engaged in giving or imparting knowledge to the whole world. That is the significance of the very word Bharat. So such a society, the predecessors, or I mean the followers of such a society have to be very conscious about our knowledge system. That's why I'm saying this is an apt opportunity, apt occasion to think about Bharat again. Think about Bharat social science again. Think about Bharat's public administration system again. And also our jurisprudence, our dharmaprudence. As far as law faculty is concerned, we have to think about our law academics in a dharmaprudence manner, not in the jurisprudence manner. So there are a lot of us before us. So this is, as we are celebrating this particular moment. See, we have attained freedom, independence struggle. There is no doubt about the fact that we are going to discuss about the achievement of our nation in this long 75 years. Or we will discuss about where we have to reach after 25 years. That means the 100th year of Bharat's independence, when we will celebrate it in 2047. What is in our mind about the Bharat, what we have to achieve? With that end in mind, we have to proceed. Stephen Covey, the great management expert, used to say that a successful person will only start his work with the end in mind. So we have to keep a lakshya, a destination before us, that after 25 years, where we have to achieve, where must be our academic system as a whole, and also social science or political science in particular, public administration system in particular, law faculty in particular. We have to think about that. And of course, along with that, all teachers and all intellectuals must think about the most important science, that the history, our history. The unfortunate part of our history is now we are teaching or going through a particular type of history which can be termed as distory, not as history. It has been distorted. Specifically, some ill motive wale log, they have distorted it, and I would like to call them not as historians but historians. So I would like to say that we have to think about that great independence struggle in a proper Bharatiya way. Now we are learning about our Bharatiya Swatantrata Sangram, but about the longevity, about the time span of our independence struggle, about the participants of our independence struggle, about the inspiration of our Swatantrata Sangram, about the multi-dimensional nature of our independence struggle. All these aspects are to be discussed, studied in a proper manner. See, usually in the so-called mainstream history which we are learning, see, there is a problem with history. Another problem with history. When we are starting to discuss about our history to be rewritten or properly placed, proper narrative is to be made. The so-called historians will ask us, what is the necessity of creating it again? We have already thought out and give you the history, and you are not the persons to go into that. We have already thought about. That's a problem. That's a problem. Through their history or history, whatever it may, we are getting a knowledge about the independence struggle that it was not a long one. That's the first and foremost thing they want to put on us, insist on us. Let me put it in this way, that someone are saying that it was started in 1885. What is the significance of 1885? We have to discuss whether it is, whether they are trying to correlate it with a particular political organization founded by an Englishman in that year. We have to discuss. And another thing, some people are saying it was started in 1857. Kuldeep ji has mentioned about 1857, that great revolution. But he never said that it was the first Indian independence struggle. Veera Savarkar ji has also never said about that it was the first independence struggle. Our independence struggle has not been started in even 1757. Someone are saying that in Palashi, when the great independence struggle leader, Siraju Dowla led our first independence struggle. So he is the icon of our independence struggle. Is it true? Those who are related to history, I think every political scientist, every public administration system teacher or law teacher must essentially go through the history of our Bharat. Otherwise, we can't put things in perspective. Our independence struggle has not started even in 1757. After all, what happened in Palashi? Can anyone contest me that when I am saying that there was not a war at all? The so-called Siraju Dowla fled away from the battlefield within 1 or 2 hours. He tried to save himself. Leave every soldiers before the cruelty, I would like to say before the cruelty of Robert Clive and Mir Jafar. That was his contribution. So the main thing is that when this Western colonialists set foot on our land, see, when Portugal came in Calicut, Kapad beach of Kerala, I would like to say that right from that moment, our resistance has also started. At least when our ruler or the people of that particular area came to know about the real intention of this Portuguese force under Vasco da Gama, it was not just for trade. Take it from me seriously. It was not just for trade. Some other ulterior motives were there in the advent of the Portuguese. So right from that moment, we have started our resistance. So it is a long struggle. At least 500 years of anti-Western colonial movement took place here. And then comes, where did it happen? These so-called mainstream historians are trying to teach us in this way that our independence struggle started or was held predominantly as a North Indian affair or an urban-based affair or an English-educated so-called higher caste affair. Is it correct? You have to think about this seriously. I would like to put before you in this way, that our independence struggle was a pan-Indian one, right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, right from Karachi to Dhaka. That means at that time, what was Bharat's boundary? Bharat in total was fighting against this adventure, the so-called enemies who came inside us. So it was a long one. It was a pan-Indian one. All type of society participated in it. Not a single community, not even English educated people. Actually, the longest struggles were conducted or led by our Vanavasi Bandhu or tribal brothers or peasants, those who were not at all studied in the so-called English modern education style, because they have got the feeling of Bharat. And another important thing, when these colonialists started their ruling, they were suppressing or oppressing us in a multi-dimensional way. They tried to suppress, they tried to destroy our education system, they tried to destroy our industry, they tried to destroy our economic system, they tried to destroy our political system even. We haven't borrowed our political system from any Westminster Abbey system. Our political system was much advanced than the so-called Western systems. Many of the great leaders have written about that. Even Babasaheb Ambedkar, in his concluding speech in the Constitutional Assembly, he has mentioned about the rich and strong political system which was prevalent, which was in Bharat, right from the Vedic period, during the Buddha period, and also Puranic period. That political system, that decentralized system, was very much strong in Bharat. Sabha, Samiti, every concept was here. So this colonialists just tried to devastate that rich political system, economic system, and also you see, someone are trying to teach us, giving new classes, that this gender equality was also taught by colonialists. Is it correct? Is it correct? let me say that when Abbakka Rani of Mangalore, Ulal, or Velu Nachiyar of Shivaganga, or Rani Channamma of Kittur, were fighting against the British and Portuguese forces, the colonialist forces, in the battlefield, leading men, women leading men against the colonialists. Rani Abbakka was fighting against the Portuguese in the beginning of the 16th century. Do you know the so-called teachers of this gender equality or Victorian morality were doing at that time? They were discussing about women, whether they have got soul or not. Can they be considered as human being at par with men? That was the discussion going on in the intellectual field of the West. But here in Bharat, our women were fighting in the battlefield even, let alone the teachers, let alone the teaching system or anything. So that was the situation here. All these aspects have to be discussed, and also we have to find out the fact that colonials were suppressing or ruling in multi-dimensional way, and our resistance was also multi-dimensional. We recreated our political system. We tried to recreate our social system. We tried to recreate our economic system also. They tried to destroy our agriculture system. We have recreated it. They destructed our art and literature. See, in through Nandalal Bose and Abanindranath Tagore of Calcutta, we have restarted our nationalist art school. We have started our theater. So my point is, they were trying to suppress us or destroy us, rule us in a multidimensional way. Our response was also equally multidimensional. All these aspects we have to think about. We have to discuss and learn about Professor Kashi Prasad Jaiswal, who wrote about the history of Hindu political system. In the name Hindu Polity, he published a book also. So all these aspects are to be discussed. This is the apt occasion to discuss about now. Last but not the least, what was the real inspiration of our independence struggle? Was it the so-called political power? Was it for just transferring the power or the political power? If we are analyzing our independence struggle properly, we'll come to the knowledge that it was inspired by the swa content or the selfhood of this nation. Our Bharatiyatva concept was inspiring us to re-establish. We fought a battle for selfhood, our swa content. That was it. When we are analyzing about the Veerapandya Kattabomma of Tamil Nadu, he was saying this soil is my mother and I will do whatever at my command to save the dignity and the culture and the self-esteem of my mother. Where did he get that mother concept of this land? When Marutu Pradesh of Shivaganga of Tamil Nadu was fighting against Britain, they announced the proclamation in which they have given the title. This proclamation is Jambudvipa Prakatane, Jambudvipa Proclamation. Those who are coming from the south, I am sure they knew about it. But I have got big doubt about those people who are participating in from the north and northeast or west, whether they are knowing the fact that Marutu Pradesh, the so-called Dravidians, sorry for using that word, so-called Tamilians, when they were fighting against Britain, they made a proclamation in the name Jambudvipa. What was Jambudvipa? The enlarged or Vishal Bharatiya Sanskritik Rashtra ka naam hai. When Velutthambi Dalava was fighting in Kerala against the Britain, he also distributed a proclamation in the name Kundra. What all these guys are doing, they are trying to destruct our political system. They are draining our wealth. Here I would like to remind you about the grand old man's great theory of wealth drain. 50 or 55 years before, a person taught only in the Bharatiya method, not any English method. In the Bharatiya method or Kerala method, he taught science and language and everything. And that Velutthambi Dalava, when announced the proclamation, why I am fighting against Britain, he said that these paradharmis coming from outside, they are draining our wealth. They are taking away our wealth. And also they are destroying our rich culture and dharma. In order to safeguard this great culture, dharma, tradition, we have to fight. He spoke about the political power in the end, just like Maharishi Aurobindo, when he was giving the great speech before the young independence struggle leaders, and the title given to that speech itself is very significant, awakening the Indian soul. भारतीय आत्मा को जगाने के लिए एक भाषण दिया, and in that speech he has specifically and most scientifically and most rationally he defined what independence struggle is. He said that this task is not mere mechanical, and this task is not confined to political field alone. This is a spiritual and moral fight. We have to inculcate the great spirit of this land, the dharma spirit of this land, to all walks of life, all facets of our life: art, literature, education, industry, agriculture, and of course in political field also. So this selfhood content or the spirit of this nation, the both in the beginning when Sanjeev Sharma ji was introducing me, he was saying that about a book that is Battle for Selfhood, and also Bharat Bodh. This Bharat Bodh is to be inculcated, instilled into each and every facets of our great land. So that is our duty, that is our divinely given responsibility, that being academicians, we have to think about this Bharat Bodh. On the basis of that Bharat Bodh, or Bharat identity, or the selfhood of this great nation, just like Aurobindo has said, just like Veerapandya Kattabomman, or Velu Nachiyar, or Sangoli Rayanna, or Rani Gaidanlu, or who it may, I can give you n number of those great independence struggle leaders who taught us what was the real inspiration of this great fight. That Bharat spirit, this nation spirit, that Rashtrabodha is to be reinvented, re-established in our academic field. So it is an apt occasion when we are learning the new thing, the modern thing, new development happening in the Europe and all places. We have to analyze all those things. We have to analyze all those things. New development also, without any fear or favor. Again, I would like to repeat, without any fear or favor, and without any fear of the so-called political correctness or not, we have to define ourselves, talk with loudly about this great nation's academic system, and that academic system is to be strengthened by us alone. We are the sole responsible person. I'm going back to that great Kothariji's comment about our academician. We have to take back our center of gravity, which is somewhere centered in the Europe, to take back to the center focal point of our great nation. So in this course, to attain new strength about our academic brilliance, our teaching capacity, research, titiksha, all these things we have to attain on the basis of our Bharat thought system. Otherwise, we will be just like a kite in the sky with a broken string. We shall not be like that. So I don't want to talk much. It is not necessary also. We have to start our classes immediately afterwards. So let me conclude here. Once again, I would like to thank our director, Professor Brajesh Kumar Pandey, and also assistant director, and all other most distinguished professors who are leading this great course. I'm quite sure to attain a lot through these four factors, that is Acharyat Padabhadate, Swayam, and also with the help of the sub-brahmacharis, that is synergy, through synergy and the due course. Kalakramena tu, we can attain that great goal. नमस्कार, जय भारत।
And we are very grateful to you for sparing your valuable time, and you have highlighted a very prominent issues. And as an academician now, this is our responsibility that we need to check and find out the true fact, and we need to present the true picture of our the Bharatiya Itihas or Indian history. And we are very thankful to you for your insightful speech. And thank you very much once again. Now, in this word, because we are running out of the time, I have a few announcements to the participant. Your all separate courses will be conducted separately, and your course coordinator will be interact with you in the afternoon session. So for next 2 weeks in professor course and the faculty induction program, so all respected course coordinator are your in charge for all your work. So I request you all, please, I need your cooperation and the support for the smooth conduct of the course. In this word, I'd like to request Pandey sir, आप कुछ कहेंगे या I present कर दूं मैं vote of thanks. Thank you. So now we have come to end of this combined inaugural sessions, and I would like to present a vote of thanks. Especially, I would like to thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Jagdish Kumar sir, for their support, encouragement, and motivation. We were indeed privileged to have had, we had a eminent speaker and our guest, Maniye Professor Kuldeep Chandra Agnihotri sir and Maniye Sri Nand Kumar ji. आपका यहाँ आना हमारे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है, और आपका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिला, और साथ में हमें एक मोटिवेशन मिला, जो ऊर्जा मिला कि we need to work hard and we need to, because you have highlighted some issue and we need to work on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Highly acknowledge our deep sense of gratitude to you. Our heartfelt thanks to all the course coordinator, all 6 course coordinator, because without them we may not be able to conduct all these courses. So all credit goes to all our course coordinator for their hard working, dedication, and enthusiasm to working tirelessly, hard working from the last more than 2 months. I would also like to thank all the head of the institution from all the participants were coming, because without their recommendation and nomination, you may not be able to attend this course. So first of all, I would like to thank all the head of the institution. I would like to thank all the participants conducting from the different corner of the country. I would like to thank our director, Professor Brajesh Kumar Pandey sir. So your support, your motivations, और ये सब आपके प्रयासों से ही हम ये कार्यक्रम जो है वो करवा पा रहे हैं. I would like to thank our technical team, HRDC, especially Gaurav ji, Neha Arora madam, and Om Prakash ji. I would like to thank JNU faculty members, especially CIS team, for providing all these the internet facility and all. So thank you very much, and thanks again. So in this word, I would like to close this inaugural session, and we will join again as per our schedule. So we will join in different courses. So thank you very much, and namaskar.